Welcome back, my nomads. Welcome back to another Bitcast. I'm back here today with Zach. What's going on, Zach?
Hey man, how you doing? How was your week?
It was alright. Busy week, busy weekend, sick kid. So it's just been craziness, man. How about you?
Yeah, I had a lot of stuff going on this week for work. Looking forward to doing the same old stuff this coming week, but I actually had some downtime too, so I was able to, indulge. I was in Seattle as well. I hate
Right.
that city, but besides that, yeah, man, you know, it's funny. We do this once a week, right? And I feel
Right,
like this is one of like the biggest weeks in like a really long time in terms of everything that happened.
bro.
And it's just it's pretty wild where movies can't even like top this type of stuff.
Can't make this stuff up, man.
I
It's
uh
fuck. It's
I feel
crazy.
like I'm sure you already know, like you saw the picture like when Trump was shot and everything, you see that fist pump and all that in the American flag. Like just in terms of like a photograph, how powerful, like how strong do you think of a picture that is in terms of media? Yeah, sorry about that,
1800s.
dude. My camera just spazzed out. Um, so yeah, sorry, what I was saying is that
Mm-hmm.
there would have been no way that this stuff would have been planned away in the government. Like government's too incompetent to cover stuff up. Like it always comes out in some kind of capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And just given how high profile something like that is, like you would need a guy with literally no social media or internet footprint to make the move that he did without anyone knowing. Like that's really what it comes down to it. Um, and it's just wild that someone who doesn't even know how to shoot a gun really was able to maneuver around. And I feel like there was more outside help from other organizations helping him out versus him doing it himself.
Yep. Yep.
Not the
Yep.
Trump
Yep. Yep.
organization themselves, because the government doesn't even like to play ball with him. Like they would probably hope he would have been killed, and just move on. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't think they would have liked the reaction to come if he was killed. Probably wouldn't be having this podcast today if that was the case.
I mean, we'll never know. I saw
Never
that
know.
Biden
It's a
dropped out.
powerful picture.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. How do you? So, what do you think happens now? Like, so Kamala, let's just say she runs. Do you think she can galvanize the black vote to vote for her, or what?
No. That being said, I I saw a rumor that Biden dropped out. He's endorsing Kamala, and I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
well, that's not a
This chick has
rumor.
been.
That's
She's
confirmed.
okay because I've been seeing rumors of other stuff too, and I'm like, I don't know what's true. Um, I think that's a dud, but that's just me. Again, I'm not a political guy.
Hmm.
My thoughts are very, very surface level, but I haven't seen this chick in months. Every time I've seen her, she's been saying some clown stuff, and I'm like, "You, I thought you were an educated woman," but that's just me. Um, I think they need
But
a
that's
different
good.
candidate. How is that good?
It's good
She's
because
not good.
you are like how most people in the middle are. Is what I'm saying is that you're just like I'm surface level. I'm not a political guy. Like these are the people that they have to cater to and appeal to, right? So what will it take for someone like her to appeal to people like that, right? Because the people on the left or right are pretty much staunched in. They're not voting for her, they are voting for her. So the people in the middle, how do you get them to vote for her? I don't really see a pathway because I think the middle is just kind of tired of this whole regime anyway. Um, and they
I
kind of
agree.
just want to, like, they're willing to deal with Trump's antics just to, move on from this, but that might be me.
And like I said, I saw a lot of rumors. Like I saw a rumor that said Hillary is going to be the next candidate for the DNC,
Oof.
and I'm like, "Oh, you guys just want to lose, Okay." but uh, I'm like, Michelle Obama would have a better chance at being president. Like, come on, what are you
Gavin
guys doing
Newsom or
right now?
Michelle Obama, if I was even though if I was a a registered Democrat in a city in a state right now, especially a battleground state where they just went around the primary so people couldn't even vote for the candidate they wanted. Like he should have dropped out before the
Mm-hmm.
primary so people could have voted for the right candidate. Now they can circumvent that and they can choose who they want. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like that at all. Like it doesn't matter if I'm not a registered Democrat or not. Like that, there's something very wrong with that. That they
Right.
can pick who they want to challenge Trump. It's like I, I don't know. That's a huge problem and concern for me because if the Republicans did something like this, we wouldn't hear the end of it ever. And I just don't
It's
like
almost
this
like this
double
was
standard.
planned.
Oh well, yes.
I'm like, why were you guys pushing Biden so hard? Like, we all saw the writing on the wall. Well,
two
what were
years
you
ago, he
doing?
started having these issues.
I
Like
feel like it was
this is
earlier
nothing
than
new.
that.
Yeah,
I feel like as soon as he got in office, it was like a downhill spiral. Like the guy's falling off
yeah.
bikes and he's like saying crazy. Did you hear, bro? Did you see that video where he's talking about this one guy? He's like, yeah, like he has sexual relations with this guy's wife, and he just says the f word. Like bro, like what? Like get Pop Up off the stage, give him a little icicle
Dude,
or something, and put him in the corner.
like you go to like family things and you got that one family member who just says the most insane things at a funeral. It's like
Yeah,
that's the guy that will just like what?
yeah. It's like, hey, Pop Up, here's your sherbet. Go sit in the corner, chill out, and watch some football. All right, just
Yeah.
relax. Make sure
He
the
still
kids don't
thinks
kill
it's
each other.
1970. He still thinks it's 1975, and we can still argue about segregation or not.
Exactly,
It's wild. No,
exactly.
it's a No,
It's wild, bro.
I'm I'm interested to see how it's going to be to see in the next couple months for this. How it brings down. There's going to be a lot of things made about this in the coming years. A
Oh yeah,
show,
because
tons of
this is a
documentaries, all
no-win
kinds of stuff.
situation. We got some idiot candidates. That's all it comes down to.
No, I mean, I wouldn't call
I
Trump
know you
an
love
idiot.
Trump,
He's an
but
opportunist. He's a.
but nah, he's
We'll
garbage.
see.
All of them are
Let's just be
garbage.
optimistic. But besides that,
I'm an
we've
American.
had.
Like, come on, optimism's out the window when it comes to
Uh,
elections. This has never been in our hands. Like, stop the bullshit. Like, come on, man. This stuff is all pre-planned.
I feel like when it comes to the primary stuff, I agree, but the general election itself, like it comes down to like what you were saying, the local stuff matters more than anything, and this is kind of what
Facts.
cascades around it, right? And if you don't get the local
Facts.
stuff done, it's going to seem like more and more that the national elections are planned and fixed and stuff because that's just how it is. But don't want to hammer it on too much. We got so much good stuff. Microsoft decided to take a dump the other day, and everything was to a halt for the most part, like airports, banks, take your pick, because of a Cloudstrike firmware update. And, the airport here, anyway, wasn't able to do anything for a very long time and
A lot of
caused a
airports
lot
were
of
like that.
mayhem. Yours were
Yeah,
like that too?
a lot of airports. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Was
You know
your
what really
work
killed me?
affected? Was your job?
No, I mean we're local government, so I mean, well, yes, it was actually like our infrastructure, like our emails and stuff. But I mean, most of our stuff here, like we're local news, so it wasn't too damaging. What really
Mm-hmm.
pissed me off about this, Xbox Game Pass was down. I was really pissed, man. I was trying to play some games.
I feel I Microsoft gained so much momentum, because of the acquisition of OpenAI this year and or later last year, and I just feel like everything just gets erased with stuff like this.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean Microsoft. I don't know, bro. We got to talk about Microsoft. It's funny because
Do
I
it.
was a Sony guy. I was a Sony guy. We're talking about video games here. I was a Sony guy, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
like what they were doing with their. I didn't like what PlayStation was doing. It didn't seem like it was doing stuff for the consumer, whereas I thought Microsoft was. So I jumped ship and became an Xbox guy. Now Microsoft is going into their own seedy stuff, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm about to jump ship and just become a full time PC gamer guy because
Which is
this is just
Microsoft.
wild. Yeah, which is Microsoft. Yes, well, I'll be a Steam
You know this was the plan
video
all
game
along,
guy.
right?
Yeah, I know, which is funny, man. Which and oh, do I want to say it? Do I want to,
You can edit
bro?
it out if you feel like it.
No, I'm asking myself, do I want to say it because we always talk about Star Wars. But I
Oh
was
God.
thinking to myself, was this Disney's plan to trash all of their Marvel and Star Wars products so that it can push a certain agenda on a political stage? You know, because
Mm.
I was wondering, why are all these companies doing all these DEI things? Why is like companies like the one we talked about last week? I'm blanking right now.
Baby
Sweet
doll.
Baby Inc. or something like that.
Oh, sweet
Sweet
baby.
Baby Inc. Like, why are all these companies getting all these woke agendas when it's not making the companies money? And I'm like, maybe it's a push to say, hey, so the public, people like me who are surface level politically, who are like, yo, we're tired of all the woke stuff. Let's just get this guy in office because he's going to get rid of it. Meanwhile, he's going to push. He's going to tell you he's going to get rid of all this woke stuff, and on the bottom of it, in the subdivision, he's pushing all the stuff he wants to push. Conspiracy moment there. But I'm like, what's with all this DEI and all this stuff? And I don't know, man. I don't. It doesn't make sense. And then when you talk to certain minorities, they're like, "Oh, well, it's for us." I'm like, to be fair, DEI has really been about women and trans for years. It
Which is
really
strange
hasn't been
because they're
about black.
antithesis of one another.
Yeah, it really hasn't been about like minority hires have been women and trans. It hasn't really been um black, Hispanic, whatever. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
usually when people think of minority or DEI, they think of black or whatever. And a lot of those DEI in those Fortune 5 companies, a lot of those DEI leaders were women, and a good number I saw were like black women who were the heads of these DEI divisions in these companies. But yeah, DEI hasn't really been about um, like race. It's really been about women and trans stuff going on. But I totally forgot what you were talking about, and I just like spaced out into conspiracy time.
Sorry, my mic was acting weird. So, no. So Microsoft got rid of its DEI department, which was several hundred
Hmm.
people, and they just axed it. And do you think other companies are going to follow suit? Because Microsoft is, it goes back and forth between them and Nvidia on the largest company on the planet in terms of like value, right? So if Microsoft got
Well,
rid of DEI, who's going to follow suit?
well, it's funny because when we talk about Hollywood, like we're talking about the video game industry right now, Hollywood has already done this. Like I'm sure I'm going to get some of these companies wrong, but I feel like Warner Brothers and Sony and stuff like that, they've gotten rid of their DEI
Because
already,
it doesn't
and
make
now it's
money.
trickling down. It doesn't, and because like, all right, because I know I'm going to be called a sellout or whatever, but I just got to clarify for a minute. DEI, what we're talking about here, let's use the Acolyte for example. The Acolyte has been called the gayest Star Wars content of all time, proudly, right?
Oh.
And the most diverse Star Wars content around. All right. Let me
Mm-hmm.
get one thing clear. All right. Let me educate y'all for a second. Let me learn y'all for a second. True diversity isn't putting a bunch of brown uh, or black or whatever faces on the screen and getting actors who are gay or whatever. True diversity is actually having people both in front and behind the camera for a purpose, not to check off a box, but to have actual stories of people of that culture, ethnicity, of that lifestyle. Just don't throw a bunch of people on screen and be like, "Oh, look what we did! Hey, we did a good thing, you know." Guess what? That character you loved for 50 years, now they're black. Now they're Indian. Like, no, that's not what we want. That's not true diversity. You know, I'm tired of all this check box stuff, and that's what we're talking about. That's what we're tired of. We're tired of the pandering. All right, that's what we're talking
Just
about
for the
here.
sake of
Okay.
diversity versus getting the most qualified person for that particular position or role, which is just see if so if you don't have enough minorities fulfilling a specific role because of the lack of talent, then you need to look at other things causing that, not doing it at the top when they're severely not qualified. I mean, that's just the we're not saying there isn't a problem at that point, but the problem isn't just doing it the last second just to fulfill the spot, right? Like, you know, the Trump assassination is a great point. You had people who weren't qualified for the sake of being a woman on that detail, and she had no business being on there. And that's when people's lives are at risk. Like, if you're having it at the highest level when people's lives are at risk, what makes you think that companies are doing it? Oh, well, camera work or production or acting or whatever it is, it's not that big a deal. It's like, well, people see that and they're like, yeah, look, it's stupid. It's done. Why would we do this? Why would we continue spending the money on this? Because it's not like this content's cheap, right? Getting access to any of these streaming platforms, the video games, the stuff is really expensive now, right? And if people are going to cut costs so they can buy food, they're going to think, hey, look, this content's not really worth it. Do I need to keep it?
So Zach brought up a good point. He talked about some of the Secret Service people not being qualified. If you think we're being red pilled or bigoted or whatever, ask yourself this: if you're in a burning building, who do you want to save you? Somebody who's a diversity hire for diversity hire's sake, because not all diversity hires are bad. Sometimes they're good. I'm talking about somebody who was just there as a checkbox. Or do you want somebody who is going to save you, who can actually do all the required push-ups and the lifting and the running endurance? Do you want somebody who could do all those physical attributes in a test? Do you want that person who could pass those, or do you want a checkbox person? Like, come on, like, let's be real. And
You made a good point
another point.
with the checking that, like hiring someone. Like, sometimes it's good. There is a point. If you have two qualified candidates who are exactly the same, one black's one white, you're hiring the black person for the diversity. Okay, that makes more sense, right? Because that person is just as qualified as their counterpart who's white. Okay, because then you can still trust them, they can still do the same exact stuff. But when you're cutting corners and they're not qualified for the sake of the race or their orientation, that's the issue. That's what I wanted to expound on. I'm sorry.
Exactly. And I saw a study this week, and it was talking about mixed race people who actually look like they're mixed race. Like, let's, for example, talk about that redheaded black chick who always gets hired in Disney projects, you know, and uh, while I'm trying to think of her name, I'll try to find her. But people who look like she was in the Winter Soldier, you know,
Okay.
people who look racially, people who look racially ambiguous are
Mm,
more likely to get hired, especially for jobs where they're required to show themselves, like acting jobs and modeling jobs and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's funny because back in the day, I'm talking about like 90s, 2000, people were upset. Mainly black people were upset that only light skinned black people were getting jobs, like getting acting jobs. For example, X Men, the movie came out in 2000. Why the hell was Halle Berry Storm? She looks nothing like the character. I will say that again. And then when they recast her, they got another chick who looks, um, what's it called, light skin, and it's like, come on, man. And they're both good actresses, but at the same time, it's like, yo, why are you getting that job? And now it seems like we're going back into another circle. It's like we're only hiring the light skinned people because of the way they look. And I just found the chick. No offense to this chick. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show you Zach who I'm talking about because you know who exactly I'm talking about because we've talked about
Mm-hmm.
this off screen. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, here we go. But this chick is in every Disney project. Every.
Hmm.
She
Oh,
was
she's
in
British.
Willow. She was in Solo. Yeah, yeah. She was in Willow, Solo, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and she keeps getting hired. And no offense, I got nothing against this chick, but she doesn't really have the acting chops. I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying. It's like the
Hmm.
same thing when Zach talks about Ray from Star Wars. She doesn't have the best acting chops. All right. There's
No,
nothing
she's
against
awful.
this individual. There's nothing against this
It's
individual.
okay. We can
Like,
critique their
but
job and still like not attack them as a person. Like that's not like what we're trying to do. It's like why do we have these people in here?
exactly. This chick's name is Erin Kellyman. Like, her acting chops are not up to par, but she keeps getting hired by Disney. And you know why? Because she checks all the boxes. She's a woman. She's racially ambiguous, so she could be almost any race out there. Also, in Willow, she was playing a gay woman. So another
Hmm.
box checked. It's this is what we're talking about, man. Like, come on. We're going full circle. When you try to please everybody, you end up pleasing no one. And you're trying to check all these boxes and you're missing a whole demographic of people because you just keep, oh, let's get this person because they're racially ambiguous. Let's get this person. Let's get this. It's like, come on, man. Come on. What are we doing here, man? And this is why
I
people are going to start voting the way that they vote.
Yeah, I emphatically agree with you. So kind of piggybacking on the Microsoft thing,
Yeah, I went
let's
on a
hope
tangent. My bad.
they are the poster children of the rest of corporate America in terms of we'll see, they get rid of these policies and just put the best person for the job. Albeit, let's find a solution as to why the best people for the job aren't necessarily the people you want to hire because of diversity's sake. But they're under
Mm-hmm.
fire for the FTC because of raising Game Pass prices, even though they promised they wouldn't after Activision's acquisition. Mm,
Did you see
I hate to
Microsoft's
tell them
rebuttal
so,
to
but
that?
we told them so.
Did you see their rebuttal to the FTC?
I
They
did
said
not.
because the FTC called it a degraded product, Game Pass, and Microsoft
Yes.
rebutted saying it is not degraded because the lower tier cost tier now has multiplayer. I was like, come on, bro. You can't make this shit up, man. Like, come on.
They're not going to win
That's your
in court.
defense?
That's going to be
No,
an
they're not.
automatic fine. And this is how long did it take for them to go through the acquisition? It was almost 2 years.
Almost.
2 years
They
for this,
barely
and that
got the
was and that was the
acquisition.
main reason because they had to split some of the cloud service stuff and then some of the multiplayer stuff and everything else. It was like parsed to what they wanted. It's like you guys went through so much just to get to this point, and now you think they're not going to notice this? Like that was one of the most high profile acquisitions in the last decade.
And that's not the only acquisition they made. They've been buying up studios like crazy during this.
Bethesda?
Yeah,
Bethesda's probably the biggest one,
crazy.
right?
Oh yeah. There's
So
little ones
what's
in
so what's
between, but
next, right?
Bethesda's a huge one.
It's you're seeing the gaming industry move towards the movie industry where there's just so many production companies are like the giant umbrella of what they own, right? Or food companies. It's
Yeah.
like you only have 5 or 6 different real alternatives and they own all of these micro companies that produce this stuff. So something's got to give, and how do you even, I mean, the competition thing argument is as old as time itself when it comes to this. This is just one of the last industries now being affected by it. But I mean, I unfortunately don't see a solution to this, because then that requires a solution for the other industries like pharmaceuticals, and food and gas and things like that.
I tell you what, the government will touch Hollywood and video game industry before they touch pharmaceuticals, gas, or food. All right, they'll touch these first, but they won't touch food,
Which is
pharmaceutical, or
strange.
gas, especially pharmaceutical.
But they touch it, they find them, and they let them go. That's like it's staying face. So it's like everyone wins. Like, all right, you just paid this $491 million fine. You can still do what you're doing, but we still get a win because we slapped you on the wrist, right? And everyone's like, ooh. Uh,
Yeah,
the thing is, the gaming industry is monopolized by large media companies and technology companies. So it's like Xbox and, you get Xbox and Sony, and Microsoft and Sony are like the two big ones. Sony's huge in terms of hardware and media. Microsoft already knows like it's large in other stuff. So how are you going to fight Microsoft?
cloud software and stuff. Just gonna find the hell out of them. That's all you can do.
For what? They're worth $4 trillion.
Yeah. To be fair, I mean to be clear, Microsoft didn't even have to raise Game Pass prices. They're like, oh, it costs
No.
a lot of money to acquire these studios. Like, you make like trillions of dollars, like every month off of Microsoft software. Like, come on, man. Like, you guys, you're the opposite of Apple, so you make all of Apple's like non-subscribers. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
and there's that small niche of people who are Linux, but everybody else is Microsoft or Apple.
Well, you don't
So
have a
you
choice
make
because
trillions of
every
dollars.
PC you buy is preloaded with it.
Exactly. And we always talk about how much money Apple makes, but for whatever reason, people are real quiet about how much money Microsoft makes. It's crazy how much money Microsoft makes off software. And I think it's a marketing thing because I feel like Microsoft is always like, oh, we don't have that much subscribers, or "Oh, our products aren't as good as Apple." I'm like, you guys, if you look at the numbers, you make a crap ton of money. What are you whining about? I don't know if they make more than Apple or as much, but they make so much money, bro. It's
Yep,
crazy.
I
So I
agree.
don't, I'm not gonna shed a tear for Microsoft. You can go
I can
kick
feel like
rocks,
this is
but
something that's a crusade for you, but I got something else that's going to boil your blood even more. You ready?
oh, what's up?
So Netflix had its earning call the other day, and the co-CEO was talking about AI. So this article from IGN, right? You ready? Co-CEO gave lengthy responses to a question about the potential for generative AI to impact content creation, with Ted Sarandos in particular remarking, "Don't much care about either budgets for film." Hold on, I'm sorry. Budgets for either about budgets for film or TV, even though the technology is used to make them. He also said that Gen AI was a great way for creators to tell better stories, and compared its introduction into production to the transition of animation from hand drawn to AI based. So, what do you think? You think people don't care? Because I think people care.
Oh no, people care. People care 'cause there's whole divisions, and like we said before, this isn't just a entertainment thing. People are losing their jobs at banks and stuff like that. But I think it's funny because I think, like, we'll use Netflix for example. I think this is gonna bite Netflix in the ass because I do this stuff for a living and for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've seen the AI tools. I've played with some. You're not going to be able to make a project from start to end without human um, interaction with the AI. At the end of the day, AI is an imitation algorithm. Let's be real, and it's not
Right.
a new thing. We've had
No.
AI for decades.
Long
This
time.
is just a
Yep.
new. The marketing for this is just different. But yeah, like for example, like for animation with AI, it can help you smooth out the animations from pose to pose. I don't want to get too technical, but like there's whole like animation studios, like for example, like there might be a studio in America who draws the hero poses of a character, and then a studio out in Korea will draw all the in between frames of those poses to give you a full animation. Now you can just have AI fill that in. You won't have to hire um, animators. But life is a circle. We've talked this about this before. All I see is these companies like Microsoft making their own AI, renting it out to animation studio or Netflix, and then Netflix realizing, oh, the amount of money we spend on this AI because they keep hiking up prices, we could have just hired a couple of animators to do this, you know, paid them their wage and been done with it. It's just going to be a circle, because AI still has flubs, and sometimes it produces things you can't see. Not to mention it learns from things that are already created. So all it takes is for a creator to be like, "Oh, yo, you stole from me," and I could prove it in court, and you're going to have to pay out when you could have just hired that animator. So it's just going to keep going in full circle, full circle, full circle. AI is a good tool, but it's from start to finish, it doesn't work. So I think where the industry as a whole is going to be hurting a little bit for jobs, but then you're going to see a resurgence, and then you're going to see the resurgence of people getting hired because these companies don't know how to use AI, or they're going to hire people who are just going to be overworked trying to rein these AIs in, and then they're going to be like, look, you're not paying me enough. So there's going to be a resurgence of hires, and then the companies are going to spin the marketing and be like, oh, you know what, we want to be a company that uses real human beings, so we're going to go out and hire these people. No, 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 no. Years ago or months ago, you was talking all this AI stuff and firing people. Now you want to spin it. Look, you're just hurting. Just let it be what it is. Tell the truth. You're hurting, and you need humans to actually produce this content.
Yeah. I So the AI is as good as the data you feed in. You give it bad data, it's going to create bad things, right? That's just how it is. So Ted Sarandos had some interesting points in this. I'm going to read you direct quote, right?
Remind
Um,
me who Ted Sarandos is. His name sounds familiar.
Co-CEO of Netflix.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah. All right, go ahead.
So he would say, I think that AI is going to generate a great set of creator tools, a great way for creators to tell better stories. And one thing
Oh,
that's sure,
facts.
if you look back over 100 years of entertainment, you can see how great technology and great entertainment work hand in hand to make great.
Hold up, hold pause. Can you refresh your browser because it's not letting me record you for whatever reason? Sorry, folks. He'll be back. Just had to refresh his browser. You know, he reads that what Ted Sarando said,
Which part did you need me to reset? Say again.
like the last three sentences
Yeah.
of Ted Sarando.
So he says animation did get cheaper, got better in the move from hand drawn to CG animation, and more people work in animation today than ever in history, which is true. He
Facts.
quotes, he says, so I'm pretty sure there's a better business and bigger business in making content 10% better than it is making it 50% cheaper. I think shows and movies win with the audience when they connect. It's in the beauty of the writing, it's in the chemistry of the actors, it's in the surprise and the plot twist. And I'm not saying audiences don't notice these other things, but I think they largely care mostly about connecting with the storytelling. that's in reference to the quote, don't care much about tech used to deliver TV and film. So I think he's partially right because he is making the people are making the assumption that AI is going to be able to create human elements where we could connect into these TV and movie storytelling. That's the only way you do it. How are we going to just where we're at right now in terms of AI? There's no way there's going to be enough human elements to have creator tools have it do it itself versus having human interference in that sense, right? And we're too
Exactly.
far out. And if they think that they can train these things to make it mimic human storytelling in the eyes of a human, well, they got another thing coming because there's not that type of data to do that. And it's sad that
Exactly.
like this is where we're at, right? But I like I like the fact that it can make things easier for people, but I don't like the fact that it can just go ahead and just completely replace what a human can do because it can't. Certain automation things in terms of robots and stuff, like, sure, okay, that makes sense. But where there's a human element involved, which is a lot of things, like I kind of equated to like breaking your pinky finger. You don't realize it's important until it's broken and you can't use it. That's kind of how like human
Right.
tool, how human work is, right? You don't realize it's important until it's missing, you know?
Right. Exactly. I totally
Um,
agree, man. Like he said all the right things, and I agree with him. But I mean, I think Netflix was another one of those companies that got rid of people. No, I don't think it was. But
they
he's saying
had
all the right
some
things.
layoffs, but not many.
Okay, yeah, it wasn't them, I don't think. But he's saying all the right things. But again, moving forward, I'd like to see what his business practices are because a lot of these other companies are just getting rid of their divisions and just hiring AI specialists to
Mm,
teach these programs. And if there's if you've watched Disney content, most of it lately, you'll know that the writing is how you connect with people and how you give good content. And there just hasn't been good writing lately, you know, like so.
don't emulate the writing that's
So
been going on lately for them anyway, because that's not the way to do it.
exactly. Most of the stuff lately has just been trash, you know. But a lot of what he said is true. I agree. For me, for people like me who do like short films and stuff like that on a smaller scale, it helps us because we don't have the money to hire a lot of these services. So we'll have, like sometimes, like for me, I'll do a project and I'll have AI paint out something so I can put something in there, like a special effect. So definitely it helps anybody, tell stories. Like even just look at the cameras that we have nowadays. We all have cameras on our phones. Like we're discovering new filmmakers and new storytellers that we would have never knew existed like decades ago because you had to have money to get into this industry or you had to find a way to get past the gatekeepers to get in this industry. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, it is helpful in some ways, but to the fat cats who got all the money or sitting in the chairs who make the decisions, who don't fully
Mm-hmm.
understand it, they're just like, "Oh, we can do this without, you know, the human element and stop having to pay all these people. So let's just fire them."
Mm,
It's like you don't know what you're
yeah.
doing,
Well,
and you're gonna
we'll
find out the
see.
hard way.
We'll see if
Yeah.
that. I don't see that like happening because if companies make bold moves like that, especially if they have to cut like payroll and stuff, they're going to understand real fast that it is nowhere close to replacing anyone. It's great for supplementing and it'll make the job quicker, but there's no way that it can replace anything given where it's at right now. It's an interesting thing. I'm looking forward to seeing when it's actually like ready to use in a more mainstream way to like in terms of CGI. Like I'm really curious to see if you could do as well as a person. But till then, don't have a whole lot of hopes. I do want to talk to you about Harvey Weinstein. Speaking of production and producers, one of the Hollywood's biggest up
Oh,
until
Leslie
a
Headland.
few, huh?
Leslie Headland For the acolyte? Oh no, you're talking about Harvey Weinstein. My bad. My
Yeah,
bad.
Harvey. Well,
I thought you were bringing up his
jeez.
old assistant, the showrunner of the acolyte.
Yes, 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 yes.
But
As soon as you said it, I'm like, that's smart. A lot of people don't know her name, so definitely we. So he's in the
glad you
news
know.
again because of his chart. He's going to have a retrial in New York because the prosecution was prepared incorrectly. So the judge is forcing a retrial now. However, he's still in prison for a very long time because of the charges in California, but he's getting the ones
Hmm.
in New York. So this is pretty much just a stay face thing, and it's not really changing anything because the guy's going to die in prison. However, we get to see his face again on the news in November. Um, what are your thoughts?
Jesus, that's going to be a circus. It won't be. It will be funny if his former personal assistant gets called into trial. What's
What
her
happens, do you
name?
think?
I don't think it's going to change anything.
Well, she does.
Whether
Like,
he's
what if she does get like implicated in something because she's high profile in a lot of things?
oh, you're talking about Les. I don't think it will change it. She seems like she has friends in high places. So, I mean, I think it was suggested, right, that for Gina Carano during her whole thing, that it might have been Leslie Headland who was spearheading that whole, we got to punish Gina Carano.
Hmm.
She has to apologize to us, the LGBTQ community who's working in Disney at the time. So I think it was suggested it was her, but it wasn't
Yeah.
blatantly said. But yeah, I think she has friends in high places, so I don't think that's gonna do anything, you know. And I
Hmm.
feel like if she's avoided any scrutiny now,
Yeah.
she probably won't get
6 years
scrutiny.
later, you know what I mean? It's a
Yeah, and she like kind of skirted under the radar for like she was Harvey Weinstein's uh personal assistant for a long time, and no one's talking about that. That's kind
she
of
knew.
strange to me. Come on.
I compare it to like the Epstein thing, right? Where there's no way this guy got away with all the stuff he got away with without having some complicity in other ways, which means other studio heads, other take your pick, whatever, high profile positions, they knew, everyone knew, and they allowed it to happen because he could get you famous. Then when the cat was out of the bag because you had some people brave enough to say something, that's when they just turned on him and they cut ties, just like Epstein, right? Um, I just hope that when this retrial happens, that we kind of bring to light the fact that there were more people complicit in this, and the fact that we had this toxic nature in Hollywood to begin with, which is already toxic with numerous other things, right? Like we don't need to get into that again. Um, I hope that just kind of brings out and we have some more names like, hey, look, this guy helped him with this stuff. Like Ashley Judd, why'd she have to go through all the stuff she went through with him? It's awful, but like you said, I'm not really
I
confident that
didn't even
anything
hear
else
about her
changes.
stuff. You could tell me about that offline. I
Yeah,
didn't
you
hear
could look it
about
up
what
too.
happened to
Yeah,
Ashley Judd.
it's yeah, yeah,
But
it's sad.
and you make a good point because it's like all the stuff coming out with Diddy, R. Kelly, Brian Singer, Kevin Spacey. It's like yeah, they did some messed up stuff, but they've been doing that for years. And all the people around y'all, like who allowed this to happen, who swept it under the rug. I want their heads too. Like we got to get them out of here too, man. Let's because they're still roaming around. You're telling me
They're just finding the
Diddy,
next person to
Weinstein,
help. That's all. There's a
you
new
know
person. There's going to be a new person who's going to create this whole like ring, so to speak, and they're the kingmakers in that. So let's find them. But I'm not confident that's going to happen. Harvey Weinstein just didn't get famous overnight and created this. Like he was uplifted in doing this. I mean, that's how this stuff works.
exactly. I just look at Weinstein, Diddy, R. Kelly, Brian Singer, all these guys are the fall guys. Yes, they did bad things. They are guilty, but they're also taking the blame for some of the stuff that other people did. They're like, oh, they caught him. So let's put this stuff on him too. So it gets
Oh, they're the
buried.
witch.
You know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Patsy, so to speak. I'm curious with Diddy. It's going to be fascinating, right? Because while Epstein had world influence because of the people he was connected to in terms of like government power and financiers. Diddy had the entire entertainment industry. It seems like dead the rights with some of the stuff he has. So if this stuff kind of comes public, are we going to look at entertainment the same way because these people are the ones responsible for making all the stuff we love and hold dear?
Oh, that's all that. Thinking about that just makes your brain explode. It's like, what can I
Who is it?
enjoy from my
It could
past
be anyone.
anymore? You know,
Yeah.
could be anybody.
Yeah,
You know, and you're
absolutely.
looking at some of these celebrities too who are just so famous, and everybody's like, "Oh, they're so nice," and you're like, I don't know, like some of these smiling faces who seem like there's some like Drake, The Rock, some of these people.
Yeah.
I'm like, you seem too. You got your hand in everything, and everybody's just. Every time somebody says something about you, it seems rehearsed. Like everybody's saying the same thing about you. Like, I don't
It's
know,
too good to
bro.
be true.
I don't know. Yeah, yeah, man.
The Rock's a
But
good point.
you feel me? I feel like what's it called? Black Adam. That whole fiasco blew up his facade, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
You know, like there's some stuff underneath there, and
Yeah.
it's starting to get buried. And it looked like he escaped back to what he started in wrestling to get away from that. He was playing the
He made
heel,
his money.
you know. Yeah, he made a lot of money, a lot of money.
So I
But I'm
think
just
he'll
like,
be all right for the time being.
yeah, yeah, he'll be all right. He'll be back in the doing blockbusters soon, man. I think he has a
Oh, I think
career
so
in
too.
villainy because he plays a good villain. So I think
Yeah.
he's gonna come back and make a resurgence because he's been playing the hero for so long. But when you see him on the WWE stage as the heel and you see him as Black Adam, I'm like, yeah, he's probably a better villain. So he'll come back. He's just gonna lay low for a little bit.
It's got to reset that image. I think that's because we had oversaturation of the Rock. It was too much. There was a lot. There was just too much, right? And we just
It
like
was
we got
way
tired
too
of it,
much.
and we're like,
Way too
okay,
much,
maybe
bro.
let's reel it back a tad or two, and then wait for it. So
It was
I
for
know the
like two
movie we.
decades of nothing but him.
I know the movie we like always talk about with him is Black Adam, right? But dude, there was like 15 years of him making a bunch of action movies, like a ton of them.
Oh yeah, a ton. Like yeah, I think it was like 20 years since like 2000 he was on a reign
And
or
when he
something
did
like that.
Fast and Furious, that kind of just it kind of came
Skyrocketed
to
everything.
it kind of just came to a halt because that was Vin Diesel's franchise, right? And him coexisting with Vin Diesel was tough.
Yeah, two big personality guys who are, so vain that they can't be in the same space, Chemical reaction going to happen. And
It's not much different than Sly or Arnold doing a movie together in the 80s. That would have never
oh
have
yeah.
worked.
Yeah. Yeah, same thing. Same thing.
There's
Cuz
no
you heard all
way.
the drama that
Oh,
happened
there's
on the
tons.
Expendable um uh set between them. And it's like, oh, this is why they never did movies together.
No, yeah, absolutely. But now they're friends, but they're in their 70s now. Like, you kind of change when you're in your 70s, you know? So
And they're
it's
also not doing movies together. So, you know,
eh,
I think they did the Expendable movies, and they were
just for
like,
the
you know
sake
what,
of
we
it.
just don't work. We're better apart than in the same projects. So,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
All right.
All right,
So
let's get
we
to
just, we,
Highlander.
yeah, Highlander. I wanted to talk to you about Highlander. I was really excited for this. We know it. I know it's campy, but I wanted your thoughts on Sean Connery first because he plays a Spaniard in here, and my gosh, he's a Spaniard in Scotland with a Scottish accent. Please make sense of this.
He's he's an Egyptian Spaniard in Scotland with a Scottish accent, bro. I was watching this movie, and I'm like, all right, I already know it's coming. I know he's going to be a Spaniard. Just like Anthony Hopkins and The Mask of Zorro playing a Spaniard. But all right, I'm like, I know it's coming. Then he's like, I'm not sure. Whatever. I'm Egyptian. I was like, stop. What are we
From
doing?
when?
Like he's
When?
an Egyptian.
He's white.
He's an Egyptian from who's a Spaniard, who is also a Japanese like shogun or something. Like, what is going on? Like, he
There's a
also
lot of
seemed like he was a
moving
little
pieces with
French.
that.
He also seemed like there was a little bit of French in there too. But
Parlez-vous.
I was like, I was like, I, I don't know, but it's
He does that in all of his movies, though. So I looked it up. He just didn't have the ability to change his accent because his Scottish
accent. Yeah,
accent's very, very thick. Like his movies, he tones it down the best he can because it's pretty tough to understand him outside the movie. So
yeah.
I give him credit, but this just goes to show like you could be a really good actor and not have to change your accents for the part and still kill it.
I know. Bite down on this because it's going to hurt. I'm Sean Connery. Um, yeah, I like Sean Connery. He's a good dude, but well, he was a good dude
Was
R&B. But
good. Yeah.
it was a different time. Like I said, Anthony Hopkins was playing a Spaniard. Sean Connery was playing like back then. You could have been anything and played a Spaniard. I
Well,
mean,
there's
it
no
was just
dialect
back in
coaches in
2000.
that way either. Like you didn't have it the same way you do now.
Not true, because Christopher Lambert got hired to play Highlander before he spoke English, and he hired a coach to teach him different English accents so he can make like an indistinguishable
Well, I'm just
European
saying in
accent
general
for
for
his
him
character.
because he got big in the 50s and 60s, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, there was no way you had those kind of guys then, unless I'm wrong.
Well, Sean Connery got famous for his accent. Like people loved his accent as James Bond. Like women loved him for that. Dudes
But
wanted
he
to
was
be
supposed
him
to be
for that
English as
accent.
James Bond, not Scottish.
I know, right? Which is funny. But
You're
I
like, wait a
mean,
minute, what?
I guess when you're that good, you're that good. I mean, I don't know. It was a different time.
Because even in
But
The Untouchables, right? He's supposed to play an Irishman, and he had a Scottish accent. I'm like, this doesn't connect. He was great in that
well,
movie.
back
Don't get me
then,
wrong.
Americans probably couldn't distinguish the difference between the accents. They were just going.
Was even that long ago? It was
Nowadays, you
like
can't
40
do
years
that.
ago. I take it back. Yeah.
Now you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, you
back
kind
then
of
they were
have it.
probably like,
But
"Oh, that's how all the Irish guys sound." Yeah.
his Russian in the Hunt for the Red October is cringe. I'm glad he gives it a shot, but dang, it's like him reading off a card and he's just like saying it syllable by syllable. I'm like, oof, this is
Some people
just
can't do
not good.
accents. I think that's why Tom Cruise, when he played a Nazi spy or something like that in Valkyrie or something, he didn't even attempt the accent at all. He was
No
just
one
Tom
did.
Cruise.
All the Nazis were British. Did you notice?
Oh yeah, that's true. Damn, that's a movie that no one really, batted an eye over. It was just like, oh, that came and passed. Tom Cruise is
But
that.
it's always funny how British accents are always like the villainous accents when it comes to like any of that stuff. It's like, why is it?
Americans are still
He's,
sour about that, man. Still sour about the English.
but no, but you see that, right? American accent's good. British accent's evil. Nazi level evil, right? It's very fascinating.
Especially in Star Wars, like all the bad guys are
Oh, it's very
British.
clear.
All the good, and then what was it, Chernobyl or something like that? That show, like every Russian was played by a British guy or something like that. Like
Yes.
British people are always getting hired to do like Russian
Yeah, but how
accents
many
in
Russian
Russia.
actors are running around?
True. I mean, didn't well, there's more now, but but didn't like Sean Bean play a Russian
Yes.
in which James Bond movie was that? Where he fell down the satellite dish? I always remember that. Sean Bean
That
is
was
like
the
famous for
one. That
dying.
was
He like
no. That
loves
was
it.
the one where Denise Richards played the physicist, the nuclear physicist.
Oh dear God. Dear God. There was like no effort there. She clearly got hired for her looks. Clearly got hired. Oh my God. I
Not
like how she
believable
got
for
older
her
and
to
she just
understand
played
nukes.
into it though.
Yeah.
Dear God. There's no way. Oh,
You're
I
talking to him
mean,
like
I know
I've
you're an
never
actress,
met
but I don't
anyone.
believe you.
Yes. I've never met anyone this attractive who
Mhm.
actually can speak so simply about nukes. Wow.
I know. I know, dear God.
It was the
But
90s. Who cares?
yeah. Um, and there was a time where Pierce Brosnan's James Bond movies started to take a dive, like how the Batman movies did. Like, remember they were when they first came out, they were distinguished, and then the studios wanted to sell more toys, so the Batman movies took a dive. Same thing with the James Bond movies. The studios got more involved and they started to take a
They got
dive. Man, the
greedy.
writing and everything, yeah, they got greedy, bro.
All of it was so bad. And he's
I
another
don't
one. He's
remember Pierce
Irish, I
Brosnan
believe too.
toys though. Yeah, I think
He's Irish, but he had a British accent in that though. At least he's able to
yeah,
hide
he
it.
definitely did. Wait, is he? Because it seems like every time I see Pierce Brosnan, he's playing British,
I
which
think
is
he's Irish.
common though. A lot of like Irish guys and stuff will play British guys a lot. Oh yeah, he's Irish.
Yeah, thought
Oh,
so.
he moved to the UK at an
Well,
early
he is part of the
age.
Ireland's part of the UK. Well, Northern Ireland's part of the UK. But I mean, you're
I mean,
part
I
of that
said
whole
I
area.
meant England. Yeah, he moved to England at an early age, but he probably like mastered both accents. But
Well,
it's funny when I
so
brought up Pierce Brosnan, Black Adam popped up. Remember he was in that.
Sean Connery playing Black Adam. That would have been good.
Playing Genghis Khan. I'll tell
Why?
you what, I'm gonna kill all your women and children. Bite down on this because it's going to hurt.
All
But
right. Do you
Highlander.
think so? Do you think Highlander would have been good without Connery? Because I don't think it would.
Um, I think Connery sold the movie. Because back then you always get that one or two actor who actually sells a movie that everybody knows. So I think he sold the movie. To be clear, people, I haven't seen Highlander until now, and I was like, oh snap, that's Clancy Brown who's playing Kurgan. Like, oh snap, that's Christopher Lambert, Raiden himself from the
I
Mortal
love
Kombat
Clancy
movie.
Brown.
I love the guy's a national treasure. His voice acting and his acting period, I love it, and he killed it in Highlander. I didn't realize he was that big of a guy. I've seen him in stuff, but I wonder if he was wearing like platform boots or whatever to make him look bigger in Highlander. But Highlander, man, what can I say? It's definitely a movie of its time. I didn't see it until 2024.
Shame on you. You would have liked it better in
So
the 90s. Just saying.
I would have, because this is my type of stuff. Um, I do want to say, even though it's of its time, I was really impressed at the directing of this movie.
Okay.
The way it's directed was very well done. Like the transitions, the shots of the characters. It's funny because this movie came out in '86, right? And it's very much a
Jeez.
fantasy movie,
Mm-hmm.
but the way it was shot, I was like, damn, like they really like tried to make it look like a serious like period piece slash drama
Mm-hmm.
movie. And I was really surprised by that because movies like this back in the day they're shot a certain way, shot kind of like you know what I'm saying. Like remember the He
You
Man
know it's going to
movie?
be
I mean,
campy with how it's shot. Yeah.
exactly. So like this was actually shot really good. Like his shots, like how he would transition from one scene to the next, were very thought out. Like the transition from the city to when like ancient Scotland. My one of my favorite transitions he did is when McLeod is just sitting
Connor.
alone, his face is down, and then it transitions to the Mona Lisa over his face. I'm like, dang, like these are really intricate, thought out shots for something that would have been considered campy back in the '80s. I mean, Queen's doing the whole album and stuff like that. Like don't get me wrong, I'm a Queen fan. Yo, these songs are bumping, but you don't really see thought out things like this for a movie in the 80s like this. Like The Last
Who Wants to Live
Starfighter, the
Forever?
He-Man
Like
stuff.
what? Yeah, when that song starts playing and he's like finding out he can't have kids, he's got to, and people die, and it's like, who wants to live
That's deep,
forever?
bro.
And I'm like, yeah, it's so true though. Like, who wants to live forever?
And this is a guy who's like tortured by his immortality. And not only is he immortal, can't have kids, he's constantly fighting for his life. Like constantly. Even though he's immortal, he always has to fight because these immortals are drawn together. And again, I've only seen this movie, so I don't know the full lore. I know more lore is introduced. Um, but I'm very curious. I will follow through and watch the rest of them because one thing about this movie, it sparked my curiosity for this
And the
universe.
show, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely going to check it out because I heard the show adds even
The
more
show's better
lore
than the
to it
movies, if that helps.
to explain a lot of stuff. So I'm like,
Yeah.
geez, like, how do you go? Because I saw there's like two or three more sequels, and I'm like, this
Yep.
pretty much closed itself pretty well. Like, if you only had to make one movie, this would have been fine.
So it because it
But
introduces Duncan MacLeod in the other ones. That's the thing, and that's a relative of his.
right, and yeah,
So
because
that's what the other movies are for, and
yeah,
that's what the show's after is him. And the show kind of like follows Duncan MacLeod in terms of how he ends up being the only one left.
okay, yeah, because that's one thing I got to figure out because there's sequels to this, and I know Sean Connery shows up in the next sequel because I read that Christopher Lambert and him became fast friends, and he
Mm-hmm.
insisted that Sean Connery show up for the sequel. So I'm like, how are they going to continue Connor McLeod's story after he's gotten the gift, after he's become the only one? Are more ones going to emerge, and why do they emerge, and how do they emerge? What exactly are their powers? Because it seems like the immortals have a lot more power than we realize.
Yes.
They die, and it seems like their life force is passed on to the next one, and they can interact with life at itself. So it's very interesting. Um, yeah, like again, it's of its time. I like the soundtrack only because I like Queen. Um, the acting is real 80s. The
Yes.
but the directing by Russell McCulley, McCauley or whatever. I'm butchering his name. My bad. He's Australian. It was really well done how he directed that. And I'm looking at his resume and I'm like, oh, he's directed a lot of stuff that I like. So yeah, man, like it was good. It was good. Definitely an 80s movie. Definitely sparked my interest. Um yeah, yeah. I don't
All
know
right.
what else to say.
You want my opinion?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Because last movie that you suggested was awful, so I wanted to watch something I knew I like.
Oh my gosh.
No, here's the thing. Like, I know, it's 80s, it's fun, but the lore is great, right? So the whole premise of this is that, these immortals pop up. They don't know how. You have this thing called a quickening, which allows them to understand that they're immortal and they have power. Their power happens when they take the life of another immortal only by decapitating them. That's how they die,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
So when they get decapitated, their life force and all of their skills and all of this other stuff they absorb, which allows them to fight stronger immortals. And so Sean Connery character is dead by McLeod's pretty much rival from when he was in the Highlands of Scotland forever ago. He kills him, he gets his life force, and now he's got all of those life forces from all the guys that they absorbed, right? Not going to really give away too much what's in the other movies, but the show anyway kind of has Duncan, who is a relative of his, kind of go through the same thing, and he just like figures out that you have these strong immortals, and there's times when he fights immortals and he's just not strong enough, and he has to come back and regroup and fight him when he has enough power, right? I like the premise. It's so cool because, like you said, it's shot really seriously, and then
Mhm.
you see the fantasy aspect of it. You think with the fantasy aspect of it, you wouldn't have such dramatic elements, especially
Exactly.
for what it
Yep.
is, And I'm looking forward to the new one with Henry Cavill that's coming out. One of the guys from John Wick is making it. I forget which one.
Chad Stahelski.
Um, yes. So I
So
think that's
the sword fights are going to be epic.
insane.
That's how you know they're going to be insane. And
To,
like I said before,
crazy.
Chad Stahelski, he choreographed the fights for the anime Ninja Kamui. It's a new one on HBO Max. It's great,
Hmm.
and I'm like, we haven't seen Chad Stahelski um put his magic on a sword fight yet, per se. We've seen it in a little bit in John Wick 4, but we're going to get a whole movie of that. I'm like, let's go. Let's
So
go.
far, it's Highlander is it's just got Henry Cavill, but I tell you what, with all the katanas and all this stuff, Hiroyuki Tanada better be in there. I don't care if he speaks Japanese the entire time or not, because this dude would be great. Plus, he knows how to fight with a sword anyway. This is going to be fantastic, right? Um,
Hmm.
it's I don't even know. I'm like excited just to see how the fighting's going to be because it's going to be great.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking like how The Witcher, the first episode, that sword fight was, how dope it
Nuts.
was. You know, the show kind of lacked, but the fight in that first episode was crazy. I'm thinking we're going to get more of that kind of stuff. Like, it's going to be dope.
So this is a movie, right?
I
Or is it a show?
There's like no information. It's just like Henry Cavill's attached. And they just
So,
have all
well,
these
they have
promotional
they have
pictures that
shots of
look like
him.
they were made
They
by
have shots
AI.
of him in it.
They look like they're made from AI,
There's,
bro.
you think?
The
I
ones
don't
I've
know. Not all
seen.
of them look AI.
Let me check it out.
I'm checking up on
But
Oh, Michael Finch is writing it.
okay.
I like Michael Finch because he did John Wick and he did Hitman. Hitman was pretty good.
Yeah. So
Wow. Okay.
it should be pretty good.
Cool. Yeah.
But
Predators. I
I
All
try
right.
not
So
to get
now that you
too excited about things now.
why? What's wrong with getting excited over this?
I don't know, man. Hollywood always seems to let me down lately.
Now, is this going to be a stream only? You think, or you think this is going to be like? What do you think?
I think it's going to be in theaters because of Chad Stahelski's like his draw with the
If
audiences.
it's a movie,
If it's a movie, yeah, it should be a movie. And I think
it should be a TV
that's the
series, personally. But
that's the new thing that studios are doing, is
mm.
kicking off with a movie and then doing a series that follows it, which is kind of odd to me because the series is always not about the guy that's in the movie. Like the Batman has
They
the
need to do the
Penguin
series
series
first and
coming
then
out.
finish it with a movie.
Something, man, but I don't know. Whatever these studios are doing, it's just not working. Just
Hmm.
like the Dune show has none of the Dune people from the movies. Like, I'm
There's a
like,
Dune
why are
show.
y'all doing? I understand you're trying. Yeah, yeah. That's how much no one believes in it. But yeah, like, I don't know, bro. I don't know, but I
All
definitely
right.
will
Well,
check out the other Highlander content for sure.
good, good, good. I'm glad that you're going to watch some good stuff. Well, at least we know it's a good movie, guys. I think you should watch it if you haven't seen it. Watch all of them. Watch the show. It's a great franchise, and yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Oh, before we leave, real quick,
Mm.
Queen did the soundtrack for Highlander. Who do you think does it now? because rock isn't what it used to be in America and the pop charts, so to speak.
So
I
who
don't want
does
to
the
hear
yeah?
any more hip hop. If I hear some mumble rap hip hop in the trailer, I'm not going to freaking watch the movie. I'm just not. I'm sorry.
No,
If you don't get a good rock group to do the soundtrack, you got to have like a great composer like Hans
I know
Zimmer.
who. Imagine Dragons.
Okay. Yeah. I like the song that they did for the not the Wonder Woman movie. That was dope. The Warrior song is called Warrior. Okay, yeah, I see that. And I know some people are like, oh, Imagine Dragons. Yeah. Shut up, bro. Like,
I
if
like
you
them
don't
because
like
they're local
Imagine
to Vegas,
Dragons,
and I'm partial to them, but they have good stuff.
yeah, like just because they're good doesn't mean we're shills for liking them. All right, I can already hear people now. Oh, Imagine Dragons, they're the new Nickelback. Shut
I'm.
up, bro.
Did you watch the boys finale by chance?
Oh, not yet.
Oh, dude,
That's my
that's
last
insane.
episode I gotta watch. We'll talk about that next time. It's my last episode.
Okay. All right.
That's the last one I'm on. But yeah, my nomads. I hope you learned something. That was another good one. Check out Highlander. Um, Vote locally. Peace, my nomads. Be creative. Peace.